Jeg har været på kursus med Pichler i London. Roman er en af veteranerne inden for kravhåndtering og product management, og jeg spurgte ham efter kurset, om han havde nogle gode råd til virksomheder, der ønsker at styrke deres product management. Hør med her, hvad han svarede.
So, Roman, welcome to my Agile video blog. I asked you here because we share an interest in Agile requirement management and product leadership and product management.
Mm-hmm.
How have you gained that interest?
Yes, so thanks for having me. Nice to be with you.
You're ever so welcome.
Requirements in an agile setting is something I've been interested in a way ever since I ran my first agile project, which was back in 2004. And so we were building a new telecommunications software product, and one of the challenges was really to not only capture requirements, and we used use cases back then, but then also to figure out how do we deal with implementing those use cases, and how is it done in iterative agile way, and how can we ensure that the use cases and the requirements are written in such a way that it's easy to prioritize the product backlog, that we minimize dependencies and so forth. And then product leadership in the sense of helping people really guide others, lead development teams and align and guide the stakeholders is something that I've developed over the years. So as I've started to realize that the best tactical product management practices around use cases, user stories, other forms of capturing ideas and requirements in the product backlog, and maybe trying out ideas for new features, that's all good and well. But you also need the right strategic skills and capabilities around discovery, product strategy, roadmap. But again, that alone is not quite enough. It tends to be beneficial.
Yeah.
It tends to be beneficial to have the right people skills or soft skills and leadership skills around, say, decision making or listening, empathizing with people, dealing with conflict, and all those good things. So that's where my interest comes from.
Okay. So you're also engaged in advising or consulting other companies on their journey towards installing or implementing agile requirement management practices. What do you find good advice to those companies? Something that you would like to share here?
So I find it helpful for everyone involved to, first of all, develop a shared understanding of the current capabilities. So what are the strengths and weaknesses, generally the product management strengths and weaknesses, but then specifically to do with requirements. So is there a solid practice when it comes to requirements, be it use case writing, be it user story writing, is a solid practice available, or is the practice a little bit sketchy? Are there common ways of, say, writing user stories? And are the techniques, or is the practice not only well understood but also correctly applied? I remember a session with a client of mine in the Netherlands a few years ago, where the client asked me to come and explore challenges around user stories. And it turned out that the development teams were based in Romania, and that most of the product owners had never really met the development team members face to face, and they were writing their user stories, and I think they were using Jira, if I remember correctly, and then pushed the button, and those user stories were then communicated to the development teams. And so no wonder that for them working with user stories was difficult and painful and didn't achieve the desired outcome, right? They just missed a crucial part of user story writing. Initially baselining the capabilities, the practice, and then working with the client in order to identify improvements. So in this specific example, my recommendation was to either foster a regular conversation and join product backlog work, or switch to another requirements engineering technique such as use case writing.
Yeah. So not alone did you experience, as I hear, it became a technical issue, but the technical skills were not even there. Because one of my experiences is that if you keep it a technical issue to do requirement management, you will not succeed. But obviously you also need the practical skills to do that. But yeah,
That's right. Yes, no, I agree with you. Often there are some organizational constraints or some organizational prerequisites that are beneficial to put in place. So if the people who look after the products and write the requirements, for instance, don't have access to the users, then it can be very difficult to get the requirements right. I mean, again, you know,
and put like that, it's not easy, not hard to understand, right? But it's still difficult to manage out there.
Yeah, and I think for particularly large organizations, it's often a challenge, it seems, to give their product people access to the users. Or to put it differently, you know, I've met many product people, many product managers and product owners who weren't able to meet users on a regular basis. And so if you then lack the ability to connect with users and empathize with them and understand them, then getting the requirements right becomes much more challenging. You know, similarly, if you are not involved in product discovery type activities, or if there's no overarching product strategy or product roadmap to guide your requirements gathering and writing effort, again, making the right decisions and getting the requirements piece right is challenging. And so the impact then of improving the requirements engineering practice can be quite significant, right? We're talking about innovation process, we're talking about to a certain extent empowerment and giving product people access to users and customers, which it seems some organizations are not entirely comfortable with.
No, it's true. So it somehow it sounds very easy, but we know it's very hard to actually get there.
Yes, it can be.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts here, and talk to you later.
Yes, lovely to be here.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye.